有自己嘅原則，我就唔想成世俾人撳住嚟打。你好中意同人慳咩？我衰咗三。
Alright, hello. My name is No Trevino, and this is my this is my podcast. Today, the highlight and aim of this podcast is to explore how local governance impacts the lives of daily Texans. So, first and foremost, to begin this podcast, I will start with discussing the three forms of local government inside of Texas. So, the first one, these include cities, counties, and special purpose districts, each with their respective role in governing. So, first of all, city government is responsible for providing citizens services such as infrastructure maintenance, law enforcement, housing, public safety regulations, and various utilities such as light services. The city funds these services through taxation of residents within the city. All of these are essential for a city to function and for a citizen to contribute to society. For example, if they do not have these services, they won't be able to go to work. They won't be able to participate in their government. They won't be able to do anything. Cities have various lawmakers to apply regulations to the city, to apply these regulations in order for these services to work. These lawmakers are made up of a city council and a mayor. The city council is involved in citywide problems and programs such as elections, levy taxes, public improvements, accepting or denying legal contracts, and policy making. The mayor of the city is known as a chief executive officer, and their job is maintaining general welfare within the city limits. Now, cities have the power to make laws, but they must not defy federal or state legislation. However, in some instances, the city unfortunately does defy federal or state or both in certain cases, and these laws are not changed until the law comes in effect when someone breaks this law. All right, continuing. The county judge. The second one is counties. Counties require one county judge and a commissioner court. These are the two positions within counties. Now, both of these roles are elected. The county judge is responsible for setting budgets within the county and may affect property and other taxes. And lastly, special districts. Special districts are local government entities that provide services such as libraries, waters, hospitals, central services, stuff like that. Each of these forms of government tie into the daily life of a Texan through the way their city functions, the law they must follow, and the restrictions they have. The social contract really ties into the whole local governance thing. Now, I'm going to discuss the major revenues for local governments inside of Texas. So, first, in order to pay for a variety of local services such as schools, streets, roads, police, and law enforcement, and of course firefighters, local governments set tax rates and collect property taxes. According to Texas law, property evaluations must be uniform and equal when calculating taxes. Secondly, sales tax. Retail purchases conducted inside their borders are subject to sales tax collection by local governments. Sales tax provide funding for public services, including road maintenance, law enforcement, and firefighters. Thirdly, state cash and grants. The state of Texas provides cash to local governments through the number of grant programs aid distributions. The initiatives in the area of healthcare, education, and transportation are supported by the state money. Fourth, utility costs and charges. Water, sewage, and sanitation services are all subject to costs by local governments. These charges assist in defraying the price of running and repairing necessary infrastructure. Fifth and final one, license and permit fees. Local governments receive funding from these fees gathered by license, permits, and registrations related to construction business operations and car registrations. So, for example, it costs money to purchase a license or a permit in order to sell goods, to drive a car, to run businesses, all that good stuff. And that is how the state makes its money. Now I will be discussing the provision of fundamental services by local government. And first I will be discussing the six fundamental services. And yeah, I'll just be discussing them. So first, utilities. The local municipal governments are responsible for providing utilities to its citizens. The cities fund these services through taxes on citizens. Waste management. Citizens pay taxes in order for a city to pick up trash, and the city is responsible for picking up the trash on time, as well as transporting, treating, and disposing these wastes. Transportation. Transportation is controlled by local governments and is responsible for planning transportation routes and maintenance. So, for example, buses, the local buses, all that good stuff. Third, parks and recreation. The local governments are responsible for maintaining and supervising parks to ensure the environment is safe and there aren't substantial crime rates or suspicious activity happening. It is always important to keep parks safe because that is where most of the children and citizens like to spend their free time. Fifth, education. The state government is responsible for the education system. The quality of education is based on, or more like the funding of the education is based on the area a person lives in. So, for example, if someone were to live in a wealthier area, they're subject to higher funding for that school because schools are based on property tax. So, if a student or if a person was not as fortunate and lived in a more poverty-stricken area, that school will not be as highly funded as the wealthier one. Now, last one, health services. The local government offers various health services to those in need, such as foods, sanitation, collection and disposal of waste, and lodging. The federal government funds these healthcare programs and services through tax expenditures. Now, I'm going to be discussing the 4 forms of city government. So, to begin, we have the council manager. The council manager is responsible for the budget and the council and the council's chief advisor. And they also hire and terminate certain government staff. Now, second one is the mayor. The mayor is a powerful figure, and he is in charge of overseeing the overall administration of the city and making sure that laws and ordinances are upheld in the capacity as the administrator, official, representative, and political leader. Commission. The commission is a body that makes laws and policies for the town. The appointed commission, which, among other things, approves a budget and sets tax rate. And is the center of power. Now, town meetings. Town meetings are used to approve the annual budgets, elect local officers, and perform other businesses. Now, last and final one, a representative town meeting. Representative town meetings are an attempt to include ordinary citizens to those who do not belong in a political party into legislative processes and to make local politics more transparent. These are honestly really helpful, and they really do help the government get an insider perspective on what citizens are viewing. Now, Laredo, the city that we currently live in, the form of city government that they use is the council manager. And we're going to talk about the 3 types of city engagements. So, first, initiative. The initiative comes in 2 forms, which is direct and indirect. Proposals that meet the requirements for the directed process go straight to the ballot. The legislator receives a proposal in the indirect approach. It is not essential for the proposal to be placed on ballot for voters to evaluate if the legislator approves it or substantially comparable one. The second one is referendum. Although referendums and the initiatives are both initiated by voter petition drives, they differ significantly in other ways. The popular referendum is a proposition that is placed on the ballot as a consequence of a petition drive. Voters have the power to accept or reject a legislative act through a popular referendum. Voters may gather signatures to force public vote on a bill passed by legislators if they disagree with it. Typically, the petitioning needs to happen within the first 90 days of the law's passing. When a significant number of signatures are obtained and validated, the proposed law is put out to a public vote. Now, last and final one is a recall. Legislators are frequently compelled to put specific legislation on the ballot for public support. For example, before they can be implemented, voters must accept amendments to the state constitution. State constitutions in numerous states mandate that legislators submit bond proposals and tax modifications to the electorate. Now, all in all, in conclusion, the reason for this podcast was to discuss how Texas local government, which consists of counties, cities, and special purpose districts, directly affects people's daily lives by offering necessities such as public transportation, public safety, utilities, community development, and law enforcement. This podcast also draws attention to the various revenue streams that local governments rely on to maintain these vital services, such as sales taxes, property taxes, and state subsidies. And this podcast also stresses the value of citizen participation in local government, since it is consistent with the democratic ideals and gives citizens the ability to influence laws that impact their neighborhoods. Now, lastly, what I want you, my listener, to take from this is that understanding the local government is essential in participating and exercising your rights. By understanding the local government, you strive for a better future, and engaging in local government helps create better opportunities for the community. And by exercising these rights, you're able to support or, not support ideas and clause by lawmakers. And you have the power to go and change the future of your government. So thank you very much for watching. My name is No Trevino. This is my podcast.
我等一個機會。沒有證明話俾人聽我威，只係想話俾人聽我唔見咗嘅嘢，我就自己攞翻。